with the new deck selections and lineup, what do you think is going to happen?
Well, you're giving me 15 seconds to analyze like a 14 decision tree here.
Yeah,
it's definitely interesting, especially with that rogue coming in first.
Yeah, so go ahead, Fireman.
So they have, for Pathra, the decks are Priest, Shaman, and then Druid. And then for Slysssa, the decks are Rogue, Warlock, and then Mage. So have we even casted a game of Mage yet?
We have not.
So this is pretty spicy. I can't wait to actually see Mage get utilized here. And it is going to be
It's a big spell mage.
the big spell control Mage, yeah.
Yeah, Big Spell Mage is probably the default deck that you think about, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Instead, Zoo Warlock up against Druid. You got to be happy if you're Slysssa.
Right. Since the dawn of time, right? Like since like 2014, the counter to Druid has been Zoo.
What do you know about 2014 Hearthstone?
Absolutely nothing, right? I've never played in 2014 Hearthstone. But no, like this was the original counter to Druid was Zoo, and it remains true as a great counter. It's able to produce a lot of threats early on, and then it's able to go through the spreading plagues with things like Fungal Mancer, Despicable Dreadlord, and just generally buffs on its board are just so strong against Druid. And this opening from Slysssa is a killer.
Yeah, this is why you play this variant of Zoo Warlock. You see some differences in ideology. Some players want to bring the flood the board, play a bunch of 1-mana cost minions, play Grim Rally, destroy your egg, and get buffs. Some people decide to go with the tried and true formula of healing yourself with the Voodoo Doctor and the Happy Ghoul. And oh, by the way, Prince Kaliseth on 2. This is an unstoppable.
And if that wasn't enough to get you excited about this Zoo hand, it's going to follow up with Vicious Fledgling, which is very difficult and kind of forces action. So your opponent is required to kill it, otherwise they're just going to get run over. Yeah. And the curve doesn't stop there.
Well, Patrick does have an answer through the Ziliax. I believe that could be one of her choices instead of Naturalize.
It might go Swipe, I guess, though, to try and kill the 2-1 as well.
That's fair.
And then just Ziliax off curve. She wants to maybe get the spreading plague out. I don't know, it just always feels bad when your Ziliax body gets removed by a 2-1.
Right.
Never exciting.
No, it's
oh my
it's a good
gosh,
point.
it fits the curve.
Yeah.
Look at that. She was about to float 1 mana, but the top deck there, now she has a 4-3 to play instead. And that's a massive body for 1 mana investment.
Yeah, it's all about making sure you set up the best Fungal Mancer too. So, you know, do we position this Flame Imp because you want to buff this Flame Imp, or do you want to buff the smaller minions so that way Spreading Plague isn't nearly as strong? This is the stuff that's going through Slyssa's mind.
You want to buff the 3/3s in order to get them to 5 attacks, so you can punch through the Spreading Plague tokens without making like a giant Flame Imp that's just a magnet for removal. So that when your opponent removes your 5/5s, instead of being left with 3/3, you have a 4/3. So just the 3/3s next to each other. The general rule is you want same stat minions next to each other because you get more options that way. So I think it's a minor positioning hiccup here, because now you don't have the option to buff 3/3 and 3/3. So if you have the 3/3s next to each other, you can buff both 3/3s, or you can buff a 3/3 and a 4/3. This way you have to buff a 3/3 and a 4/3. So you remove yourself one potential option going forward for adjacent minion buffs.
Well, you can see that clearly Slysssa disagrees and chooses to hedge just in case.
No, I mean, it's just strictly you have one less option this way.
Yeah.
It's not a hedge.
Okay. I don't know. I'm trying to be reasonable here, and maybe there's something that she's considering, but
because if you have it the other way, right,
yes,
you can do the 3/3s together.
No,
or you can
I was siding with that. I want to buff the 3/3s, like you said.
Sure. But I mean, it's not really too big of a deal. I don't imagine it's going to be super consequential on the matchup. The more important thing is having the Fungal Mancer, being able to plow through these taunts, keep your board pressure through Spreading Plague. Spreading Plague is the tool that normally shuts down aggro decks, but Zoo is so great against Druid because it has the ability to overcome that. It doesn't just go wide on the board. It goes wide and then it goes tall.
Yeah, and especially when you have Prince Kaliseth also, it just makes it very tall and difficult for Druid to remove all these options. But Patrick does have some defensive tools. Does have her Malfurion to try to get defensive Scarabs in the way, and then can utilize removal like Swipe and Spellstone the following turn. Or could just go for a defensive option right here, right now, because she wants to maximize things like the Spellstone and the Arcane Tyrant right now.
Yeah, I love this, going for just clearing up as many minions as you can, trying to set up to where a spot where maybe you can get a good Malfurion down. The 1/5s maybe stick, and then you can turn them into minions with the branching paths, increasing their attack, making them basically Senjin Shield Masters. And Slyssa's kind of running out of cards. For as strong as this zoo draw was, which was probably the best you can hope to draw a zoo, on the other side of things, we saw Pathra had the Wild Growth into removal, into the Spreading Plague Arcane Tyrant, and now everything's lining up for both players, I would say.
Yeah. And then the moment Pathra is able to land an Ultimate Infestation, this game busts wide open for the Druid, because they're right back in it. They'll be able to utilize card inefficiencies. And then Zoo Warlock doesn't even get to capitalize on its best attribute, which is Life Tap, to be able to go up on resources once everything has been traded. That's assuming we even get that far. I mean, Slyssa's got a lot of damage. She's got Leroy Jenkins at 7 attack. She's got 3 damage with the Life Drinker. I mean, and the Soulfire to boot.
Yeah.
It's getting close.
I was maybe thinking about just going for the Tempo Soulfire. She's going to hold on to it. If she can get through this damage, you know, it's lethal, but I might be too optimistic not going for the board there.
Yeah. Druid's like the best defensive class in the game.
They're the best healer in the game. There's Paladins and Priests and Warriors, but none of them can touch Druid's healing.
Yeah. The closest could be, you know, an Odd Warrior, but not even eligible for this tournament. That is not what Slyssa's looking for right now.
Yeah, the discard cards, discarding other cards is really bad for you. If she could discard the Leroy, though, it's kind of okay at some point, because that card's not fighting for board very well for you. And she really needs the board, because she's not going to win on Burn alone in this matchup from this position.
Yeah, I think Patra's Death Knight here with Malfurion coming down is probably the stabilization point. And now Slysssa, even though she's at almost full life, even though she has more cards than Druid, I just don't think she has good quality cards to bring her back in this game here, Firebat.
It's looking iffy, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, if you look at the deck list with no Doom Guards, seems like
the Doom Guard's a big change for this matchup, right?
It is, it's massive. And it's funny, too, because Druid's lost Naturalize, which is a way for them to answer Doom Guard. So both of them lost some of their best tools in response to each other. But it ends up favoring Druid, because Druid didn't want to face against Doom Guard anyways.
Deciding whether or not she wants to go for the Soulfire. She knows that there could be a branching path that can make these minions more live, but choosing to hold on to that Soulfire. Uh-oh.
I mean, it's
That's
not
what Pathra needed, kind of.
Yeah, I'm like, it's not UI, but, you know, it does just as good of a job, in my opinion, to keep the economy going here for Pathra.
I think you just draw 3, look for that UI, maybe even Howl beyond that. Just kind of ignore the board. You got taunts in the way, find your UI, finish the game.
There it is.
Ooh, with the Innervate as well.
Oh my
Now you can go Innervate branching paths for attack.
Oh, I like the attack just to be aggressive against the Zoo Warlock.
I would get spicy with it. Try and get some damage in.
I think Patra's going to take the safe route because she has Ultimate Infestation.
Yeah.
So she doesn't have to run.
Oh, yeah, for sure. No matter what she does here, it's looking pretty good.
Oh.
Even wants to take a little bit of life damage. She's got taunts, sure.
Yeah. I mean, the double Soulfire is the biggest threat. Unless, wait, is there second Life Drinker?
Double Soulfire, second Life Drinker could happen.
Wait, Firebat, there's still a chance for this to happen. She can still tap into it. She could tap into the
That's
double.
the out. Yeah. What? Patra just needed to not take 5.
Yeah. Yeah, that was very ambitious.
Yeah.
To say the least. And now I kind of want to see this dramatic finish here, Firebat.
It was a little greedy. A little greedy. But, Slyssa's got something else in mind.
Looks like she's going for the life tap. Oh, she's going to Soulfire. Okay.
Okay, she's still fighting for the board.
Yeah. She's determined to claim it back. And, you know, Leroy's not easily touched without removal spells, but Pathra has some of the best.
She just saw a lot of them get utilized, though.
Right.
She saw the Spellstones both utilized, one Swipe gone and a Wrath's gone. So there's a reasonable chance it would stick, but not today.
Utilize the Spellstone. This is looking really bad here. I don't find any out for Slysssa there. I think she needed to. Well, obviously we have caster vision, so we knew everything that Pathra was holding. But Slyssa's only chance remaining to win this game has already passed with the Life Trigger. I think it's gonna be extra painful if it ends up being the next card she draws, which is result-oriented thinking. But it doesn't take away the pain, Firebat.
Right. She was going for the "I hope you don't have UI" line of play, and there was the UI.
Yep, and I think Slysssa is just doing the math. She's like, all right, there's 7 damage plus the hero power, so I'm not dead yet. But are you really living with this kind of play? And you brought up a great point, This was one of the ideal starts from Slysssa, and yet it still didn't pan out. In a matchup where Druid got nerfed pretty heavily. Wild Growth was played on 3.
Yes.
Nourish costed 6. There's no Naturalize for this deck.
I think it's definitely a favorite matchup for the Zoo, but, you know, Druid does Druid things, man. It's been a true thing in Hearthstone since the beginning. If Druid's able to get that Wild Growth early and string things along, even 3-mana Wild Growth is good enough to get the job done.
Right, and I think it's people who underestimate this deck. Maybe you saw Patra's previous Druid game where it said, you know what, why do anyone play Druid? No wonder it's not popular, it's very weak. But that's not a good representation of this class. It still has some fantastic cards, even though it's ramp, and a little bit of its removal got hit.
I think actually Druid might be favored against Slyssa's other 2 decks now from this position. I think we could see this snowball into a 3-0 sweep for Pathra again, because Druid goes quite favorably against Big Spell Mage.
And then Pirate Rogue, it's got defensive tools.
It owns Pirate Rogue.
All right, well, there's not many decks that can say that.
Definitely. All of that armor is definitely going to be something that Slysssa is going to have to worry about all series long now. But now, we're going to be going into this next game, and it's going to be a tough one for Slysssa. So we'll see. Everyone get ready for game number 2, Pathra versus Slysssa. Welcome back to WSOE. I hope you guys all are checking out the merch links that's being posted in chat right now. But we are about to get into the second game of this series with Pathra and Slysssa.
Yeah, currently Pathra must be feeling pretty good. Malygos Druid getting an unfavored win. Seems to be kind of the trend today, at least based on what we thought traditionally, like the Pirate Rogue versus Malygos Rogue. That should be like an 80-20 matchup at least. Some people might argue single digits for the Malygos Rogue.
Nothing single digits for the Pirate Rogue. Not the Malygos Rogue, right?
Well, I'm saying Pirate Rogue was like favored like dramatically against Malygos Rogue. So like, you might argue that Malygos Rogue has like the win percentage in the single digits, like 9%, 10% against Pirate Rogue. Because Malygos Rogue does not tech anti-aggro whatsoever. It's got greed to combo and draw cards.
Yeah, Songbird definitely did get an amazing luck of the draw when it came to her opponent really not drawing a fast opening when she did face Pathra before.
Right.
When that Pirate Rogue faced against that Malygos Rogue, thankfully, or not thankfully necessarily, but that damage just out of nowhere.
Yeah, I see where your alliance is laying, huh? So thankfully.
I mean, she was.
I'm teasing, Mike.
She was my pick, but I mean, I'm just saying that was definitely a slow, an unfortunate start for Pathra in that game, but definitely something that was a very odd start to that matchup.
My point being is that it's upset city today. We've been seeing a lot of unfavored decks being able to get over the hump, and I think it also goes to show you that you can't rest on your laurels. Yes, last hero standing is a matchup, or is a series of matchup where you can counterpick, that doesn't guarantee you the victory. You have to be able to have a backup plan in case it goes wrong. And we're going to see exactly if Slysssa has prepared that, because one of the decisions that she made at the very end was an elemental shaman or a big spell mage. And in my opinion, big spell mage has some pretty bad matchups against a lot of Patra's greedy decks. You know, there's like Mecha'thun Warlock, there's a Mallet Ghost Druid. These are some very over-the-top decks. Instead, Slyssa's going to turn to her Pirate Rogue and Firebat. You were saying Pirate Rogue, it gets owned by Druid.
It usually does not fare that well against Druid. The Pirate Rogue, though, it can make miracles happen. So it always has kind of an out. If you're able to get, a prep Myra's kind of early on and able to produce a lot of those 4/4s, you can do quite good work against the Druids. Notably, in the Fan of Knives is a very powerful card against Druid. It's not one that you would think, your aggro deck, you're like, why is Fan of Knives good versus Druid? But it's because those scenarios happen quite often where you have an army of 4/4 spiders and they get spreading plagued. And if you can make it through that spreading plague with Fan of Knives, you can keep the pressure up. But if you have not that tool to break through these 1/5s, all of a sudden the scarabs from the spreading plague become unattainable.
How have I casted Hearthstone for 8 months and not heard Miracle Rogue? That is ridiculous at this point. We are failing as cringy commentators for this game.
It's a really good name, I think, and it's very fitting. The deck goes up in a huge spike in win percentage if it has Myra's Unstable Element in its hand at any point.
I think that card is phenomenal. Another phenomenal card is Hench Clan Thug, which Slysssa is gearing up for.
And the phenomenal answer that Druid looks to find is the Spellstone. Two of those. Yeah, double Spellstone is the dream against Rogue. You're going to be able to keep your Rogue opponent off the board, unable to do anything, unable to build that momentum and get that chip damage, and then you can reasonably kind of armor out of any range that they can do. And Rogue kind of falls apart. They run out of resources. Rogue is a very bursty deck, and it takes huge power spikes onto the board by being able to remove your minions while developing. Druid likes to sit back, not develop, so Rogue can't really even do that. Druid just wants to sit there and remove stuff the whole game.
Right, and draw a lot of cards.
Right, so all of these tools like the Sap and the Eviscerate, which in other matchups you use to like play alongside your minions and develop and take tempo swings onto the board, all of a sudden they're just sitting in your hand doing nothing against the Druid, and you kind of play into their game plan, making the matchup super favorable for Druid.
Yep, and there's that Myra's Unstable Element 5-mana legendary spell from the Boomsday Project for people who are a little behind in terms of catching up with Hearthstone recently. But you can check out that Korra is ready to go for the opponent. Whoever wins between Pathra and Slysssa will be challenging Songbird in the Contender Finals. It's going to be a single best of 5. There's no upper bracket reset available for Korra. So she was sweating a little bit. She's like, oh man, who do I talk to try and get that reset back on the menu? But sorry, Korra, no dice.
And it's looking like it's going to be a tough one for Slysssa. She's already down 1-0 to Pathra, and it's not looking good in this game. Like, she has stuff on the board, but the minions on the board are representing 3 damage, and Patra's at 35, and Slysssa is the aggressor in this matchup. She needs to close the game before the inevitability of the Druid can kick in.
Right. I mean, Raiding Party is fairly powerful if you have the stuff set up already. That's where you can cheat out a really very cheap discounted Dread Corsair, or you can pump up your powerful weapons like Shadow Blade with the Captain Greenskin. But it feels like Slysssa has a lot of that support cards you were talking about, as opposed to the proactive cards.
Yeah, she's going to need to start finding, like, Faldori Striders, and then she's going to need to find the Myras. It's going to be a little bit of work to get something happening here, but I guess the first step for the Rogue to kind of claw its way back into this game, if she's able to get the weapon from the Raiding Party, meaning she has to combo it, and then able to get, Greenskin on that, being able to build the huge weapon can buy a lot of time and get a lot of chip damage in.
I agree, and I think Pathra does have kind of an awkward turn. Like, Branching Paths is still okay. It's just, it's not very mana efficient, and I think Pathra would rather have better things to do to remove the board. I think she's kind of debating if she wants to draw yet another card with this.
Wow. That's a lot of draw. It costs you 6 life, too, so, like, the drawing there is not technically free. Life total is super important against the Rogue because you can scale yourself out of reach.
This is really big because, the pirates that Slysssa draws,
she can play them now.
Immediately.
Yeah. Not the Greenskin. So not the most high impact pirates.
Right.
And she kind of needs more, meat. She's got a lot of utility cards and not a lot of minions. Pathra kind of has answers in her hand to anything that Slysssa could develop from the current situation.
And this double spreading plague to keep these 2-1s in check. So Slysssa could go all in on the board, but walking directly into a spreading plague possibility, which is something she's accounting for immediately. And of course, Pathra knows that there's a higher probability that Slysssa has those early game pirates too.
At the same time, though, can you just afford not to play your minions here? Like, what do you beat then? 3 pressure returns not going to win you the game.
It's not.
So you have to play it here. It's kind of like a double-edged sword where you're like, I lose if I don't play this. Spreading plague gets worse if I do play this. What do? I have to play this. So it's an unfortunate spot to be in, but I think she's making the correct decision.
Yeah.
Cool she has.
And double Arcane Tyrant.
Yeah. You're not happy if you see that.
Yeah, you're miserable.
Yeah. Things went about as poorly as they could go this game.
Well, I mean, that's kind of, I guess, a target for Sap at the very least. You know, try to give yourself a little bit of tempo back.
Yeah, and this is where Pathra gets kind of super rewarded for her tech choice this tournament. She's the only player bringing Druid.
The only player bringing
The whole tournament.
All right, so it's not just a tech card.
It's a tech card deck.
It's a tech deck.
Yeah, the whole class. It's a tech class.
Yeah, that's great. Wow.
So, yeah.
That brings me back. When you say tech deck, that brings me back to the school days.
The little skateboard thing.
And man, we thought we were really cool back then, but thank God that's dead in the gutter. But Slysssa is probably wishing that she had something a little bit better to fend off against the spreading plague. Here she has to piece together removal. This is not what you want to see. 15 life just dumped into the scarabs here.
Yeah. Oh. I think, I don't know. I might have been tempted just to hold on to the weapon and hope my top deck green skin. That's how desperate of a spot I'm in as the rogue.
I think she's even gone further.
Oh, she's going for the Myras. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. If she gets Myras, anything's possible. You get the Myras, then the turn after Myras, you play the Faldori Strider. The turn after that, you get a 12-12.
Yeah.
Easy.
Or maybe 2.
And 1 Spreading Plague's gone already. Maybe they don't have the second one. So those Faldori Strider Spiders could do a lot of work.
Well, so a little glance over to Pathra to see if she can get any information just from reading her facial expression, but Patra's been as stoic as ever. And I think Pathra feels comfortable, but she doesn't want to get complacent either, because when in hand dumps, you are thinking, okay, how do I react to a Myra's in case Slysssa does have it? Sure. This is not determined. It's not in the bag by any means.
Yeah, when you see your opponent kind of play every card in their hand except the coin and one other card, you got to think it could be Myra's.
Yeah. Looks like the very slow and methodical approach of setting up the scarabs.
Right, can get some chip damage through if she wants it. Play every card in your hand. Hope you draw Myra's.
It's a little chip damage for sure, and nothing else really, unfortunately.
So what do you think? Are you holding on to some of these cards? Maybe hold on to the sap just to straight the 4-1? Or do you want to try and push as aggressively as you can and really just go all in on the Myras?
I think if we go slow, you're just going to fall further behind.
Yeah.
I kind of want to go really fast here.
Oh, just think about it. Maybe even sapping the Arcane Tyrant. That always feels a little wonky, because if they play any of those big spells, they could come back. There's only, Nourish, which they don't really want to play, and then the 1 copy of Spreading Plague, and then the UIs, which can't be played for a few turns. And if the game's going to end in a few turns anyway, it's worth thinking about. But I think you got to get rid of the Scarab.
Yeah, I think I like the Scarab just because the way you win the game is through damage, and you got to really push your tempo here. It's not a great feeling, but I don't blame Slysssa for this choice. And back over in Pathra, she has whatever she wants. She can fully remove the board, and she should know
it's the coin.
That the last card is the coin.
Right, so now she just has to say, all right, how do I prepare the best for Myra's off the top of my opponent's deck? What can I do that puts me in the best position if that were to happen? And what would that be? There's not a lot of great ways to pressure.
I think it might involve her loading up her hand to be as flexible as possible. So one of them could be drawing cards. One of them could be increasing her mana through things like the Wild Growth, so that way she has 10 mana instead of 9 to just be a little bit more flexible if she draws UI, for example.
Okay. Or just getting stats on the board, I think, is pretty reasonable.
Stats on the board is also okay.
There's not a lot of great ways to get too many stats.
I mean, you could play the Street Pale Floors and Spellstone.
Yeah. It just dies, though, is the issue, right? Because the dagger
Right.
can kill it.
Well,
That was my first thought as well.
The funny thing about the Dream Pale Floors is that it actually works badly because of the Scarab in the hand. So you discount it, you don't really discount the Alexstrasza.
Well, honestly, a discounted Scarab's not too bad.
Getting it for
Taunt.
0.
Yeah. I mean, it's not the worst in this situation, but you'd prefer the Alexstrasza, I'm sure.
I strongly prefer it. Oh, gosh.
And that is not a Myra's.
Right.
So that's a bummer if you're a Slysssa fan out there. But if you're a Pathra fan, you're probably feeling pretty happy because that was kind of the turn where it needed to happen. I think every turn after this is going to be even harder because now Pathra gets to develop onto the board very impactfully.
Right. And I don't really know what else Slysssa can really go for here. She equips the Shadow Blade. I don't think that Battle Cry is going to be too impactful, just in case she needs to drop Captain Greenskin off of something else.
Then here comes Alexstrasza plus the Scarabs. Now, if the Myra's gets drawn, it also needs to kind of find a sap or you're dead.
Right. Or a Vital Spine Slayer, and that's not going to be it. I think Slyssa's just dead in this spot.
Just the Druid had all the removal, all the tools to kind of answer the early board, and the Rogue didn't find Myra, so it ran out of gas. This happens with the Pirate Rogue from time to time. It's a deck that really leans on the power of Myra's.
Yeah. Slysssa looking at Pathra, kind of laughing, recognizing that most likely I'm dead. She actually doesn't have the damage to finish the game right now. But, I mean, she could fish for more damage. I don't really think it's necessary at this point. Just keep clearing, and it's very apparent that Slysssa is floundering.
Well, the thing is, even if Myra's comes out, right, you're putting yourself into fatigue, and your opponent's at 30.
Yeah.
So there's really no way that Slyssa's life total holds up enough for her to get Myra's and then win the game beyond this. So the game is definitely over. But hey, a spider.
Yeah. I guess that's a nice, you know, little silver medal, so to speak. But yeah, Slyssa's just going to go ahead and play the rest of her cards,
So now
dealing Pathra, which
it comes on to now the Mage from Slysssa is all that's left to kind of take down the Druid. And typically speaking, that matchup goes in favor of the Druid.
Right. Yeah, Druid has a lot of time because Big Spell Mage is not good at putting on pressure, which again goes to the question, you know, Slysssa had the choice at the very final stage of choosing between her Shaman and her Mage decks.
Right.
Now, you know, she did know that Pathra had Shaman and Priest up, so that might make her afraid to pick Shaman because Shaman traditionally is not very good against Priest, but, you know, Shaman's also been putting on some work this tournament. And yet, so it's a difference of ideologies here. You know, you have one player, Pathra, that picked Shaman much earlier than we thought that most people would, because she's starting to value it more after his performances. Slyssa's still in the non-believer camp. I don't really have faith in this Shaman deck. I just brought it because I was required to bring us up.
Well, it's really hard to put a lot of faith in Shaman after just a few games of seeing it in the format, right? It's a bold call to make, especially since if you talk about on ladder, it's been considered the worst class on ladder, even though it's like one of the best here, apparently.
Speaking of classes that are underrated right now, this is the sole Druid in this tournament, and it just got 2 wins. So we're going to be coming up to the next game after a quick break, so don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back after this.
Hey, Twitch chat, you missed me, didn't you? No, that's okay. I'm back anyways. Welcome to WSOE 5. We're so excited to give our subscribers some extra little content. So we wanted to do some more trivia questions, okay? We're going to give you one trivia question. I want you to comment in the chat what the answer is, and then during the next game, we're going to have that answer for you, just because you're waiting to hear it. So here is the trivia question. When was Hearthstone released? Get to commenting. We want to see your answers.
Greetings again, everyone, from WSOE. We are about to get into game number 3 with Pathra and Slysssa. Pathra is up 2-0, and Slysssa is fighting for her life to stay in this and not get swept twice by Pathra.
Oh, I forgot about that. There's a possibility for
2 different ways.
Right, with Druid.
Yeah, with Druid potentially.
Which is really funny. And here's like the extra kicker on top. Druid was the last pick for Pathra. There was opportunities for Slysssa to set up like a ban and then like anyway up until the last pick. And then Patra's like, all right, I guess I'll pick Druid. And then sweeps with her again with the same deck.
It's painful. Well, it's a different deck. She had Priest that she swept.
Oh, yeah,
time,
sorry.
so,
I apologize. But
yes.
sweep again with a deck that she wasn't exactly prepared for in this scenario.
Well, she still has hope. It's not all over yet. The game still has to be played. And the more I look at this mage deck, the more I start to think it might be kind of close. There's the Mojo Master Zihi, which can shut down the combo potential of the Mali Druid at the later stages of the game. And there are 2 copies of Gluttonous Ooze, which can really disable Pathra from being able to use the Twig.
Huh. So there's actually a lot of use for wild growth in the late stage of the game to regain the mana crystals that you lose after they Mojo Master Zihi.
It's kind of interesting.
That's pretty hilarious. Like, what if it's just like the late game scenario where you nourish for crystals because you just want to get back to the combo range? You laugh. I mean, apparently Mojo Master doesn't want to go too far.
It keeps coming back. Yeah, it was in her mulligan, and now she tossed it away, then immediately drew it again. It's a good card in the matchup, but you really don't want it till the very late stages of the game, after you've already turned into Jaina.
Yeah, and I think instead Slysssa prefers things that, one, can either put it on pressure for the Druid very reasonably, which there's not many options, but you do have some options, or 2, has ways to fight against that burst combo. Right, through, say, Arcane Anomaly.
Yes, you get that armor to fight through the burst combo. With the Ooze able to remove the Twig, the Malagos' burst combo isn't a full OTK anymore. They kind of require the Twig to be a full OTK. Technically, they can still do 30 damage if the Malagos Druid holds on to both Moonfires, both Innervates, both Swipes, and the Floop. And is able to Floop out the Malagos and then, you know, play all of that shenanigans. But it's pretty hard to hold on to so many cards.
Yeah, not exactly what you want if you are Slysssa. Just very defensive cards. This is like the hand that you want against a Pirate Rogue, you know, or against Zoo Warlock, against good cards, Paladin. This would be a great hand against it.
Worth noting, with Naturalizes removed from the Druid because, you know, they're ineligible for this tournament, if Slysssa is able to set up, you know, Doomsayers going into turn 8, for example, and then play Syndragosa or the Lich King, Druid struggles at killing, you know, 8/8s. Because without Naturalize, they really only have, like, Spellstone, and they have to commit both the Spellstone and, like, a Wrath or a Swipe or something.
It's true.
8/8.
It's true. I mean, you even saw it yourself there, like Pathra being able to get her Spellstone upgraded to 2 or even 3 stars at this point, it's going to destroy pretty much most of what Slysssa plays. So even though she's able to get this Arcane Tyrant out just for the tempo alone, it's going to be tough. And you look at this win condition, that generally is across most matchups that don't try to kill you with 30 damage in one turn.
I think it's still the win condition here. You just hope that you can find ways to disrupt the combo long enough to where you can get into Jaina mode, control the board by making water elementals, as well as arcane artificering past the potential burn range. But it's definitely going to be difficult to navigate. That Spellstone coming out, though, is, I would say, good for Slysssa here. I think Pathra needs to be kind of saving those Spellstones for more important targets. I don't think that 4-4 mattered in the context of the whole game.
Right.
I think the Spellstone needs to be lining up with Lich King or Syndragosa or something that's actually impactful. I don't think the tempo of a 4-4 is relevant.
It's true. Ugh, there's so many expensive cards in the deck. I think that's kind of what Slyssa's giggling about to herself. Like, yeah, of course I don't really get the cards that I'm looking for. But, on the opposite side, Patrick gets the guaranteed land on the Malygos.
Now she can do 30 damage from hand with 2 swipes, 2 Moonfires. So she's unlocked the combo for the OTK later on down the line.
Yeah, assuming that she can shred the armor from Slysssa. And there's one thing that we were talking about is, as much as the Druid is very good with the damage, even just getting Malfurion the Pestilent online and hitting for 3 with the attack is enough to chew through the armor over turns, because the mage pressure options usually require Druid to play minions. And guess what? Druid doesn't really play a lot of minions. They don't have to play Spang Peg. They can just simply sit back in hero power, and mage can't do much about it. Oh my goodness.
And with the Malygos already discounted,
That is a big-time draw. Cutting an extra turn off this Ultimate Infestation just gives Pathra the ability to now pressure. Now, Pathra maybe not even need like the second swipe or the second Moonfire, right, to end the game.
Yeah. That is a lot of damage cooking in Patra's hand. And the Alexstrasza, which can set her down to 15 and put her pretty much in range of all that stuff. She got 9 from the swipe with the Malygos, and then the Moonfire on top, that's another 6, so that's 15 damage lined up there.
Yeah, I guess you got to wonder for Slysssa, is this the time where you're already starting to think about Mojo Master Zihi just to stop what
It's only 6 mana to do that combo, but it would stop the Alexstrasza, right?
Right. So it's not the Alexstrasza. It would stop Malygos plus raw damage. Your opponent just played Dream Petal Florist almost on curve. So it feels like really scary because they Florist really early on, which means that they're trying to land it on either Alexstrasza or the Malygos. Most likely the Malygos.
One of the 2 of them, probably, yeah.
And then they just played UI and they drew a bunch of cards. It's scary, to say the least.
If I was Pathra, I think I would just slam the Alexstrasza. I don't know. I think it's totally fine to do so.
Well, it's a lethal setup.
Right.
Unless they have Frosted Jaina exactly or Mojo Master Z.
Right. And what's running through your mind right now if you're in Patra's shoes is, hey, my mage opponent's setting up for an empty board going into their turn 9. What do they like to do on turn 9? Play Jaina. So she wants to be setting up a board that's the best at dealing with Jaina, but I don't see too many clean ways to do that other than just jam an Alexstrasza. It's never worth it to kill this Doomsayer, is it?
Well, you have Ziliax to get the rush damage, but everything besides that feels a little bit of a waste, you're right.
You can kind of Ziliax Spellstone, I guess.
Yeah.
Because if you're setting up damage on board that's about 10, then it's pretty much the same thing as Alexstrasza, except you're not discounting the bodies in play, right?
Yeah, I agree there. That makes sense.
So it looks like she's going to be going for that play potentially. Ooh.
Twig?
Interesting. The Twig is very often going to be met with the Gluttonous Ooze. There's 2 Gluttonous Oozes in Slyssa's deck, but that does force your opponent to have to spend 3 mana dealing with it, which could maybe make it too hard to deal with the other threats that are present.
So then Slyssa's opportunity is to ooze and then play Mojo Master Zihi some other time, because then it doesn't get the Mana Crystal bonus afterwards too. So there's an additional benefit from combining both of those.
It's actually a pretty good ooze Mojo Master kind of thing now. little scared of the Alexstrasza coming at you or the potential other burn options.
Right.
No Jaina to play on this turn. She would really love to just jam a Jaina here. That would be fantastic. But no such luck. Can set up another Doomsayer board.
Yeah, what are you really trying to stop here if you're Slysssa? You know, Pathra had drawn so many cards at this point. You have to kind of weigh if she's going to combo you, and in which case you play the Mojo Master Zihi, and if not, then you go for that defensive Doomsayer setup that you're talking about.
Time runs out on me.
Almost no time remaining either. She has to make a decision if she's going to try to survive or she's going to play a little greedy here.
Looks like she's going for the armor. And the Doomsayer, okay. Downside to this is if the Doomsayer goes off, you're killing your own guy.
Yeah, I guess with the Twig, you kind of realize that the Arcane Artificer's probably going to die anyways.
Right, it just keeps getting hero powered no matter what. Sure. Yeah, this gives her another opportunity to try and set up an empty board Jaina. So if she's able to find it off the top, she can get that Jaina out, and then once that Jaina is in play, it becomes a whole lot easier to play the Mojo Master and feel good about it, right?
Right.
Because it takes away your mana crystals too, not just your opponent's. So it makes it really hard to play Jaina later on in the game if you fry away all your mana crystals.
Yeah. So if I'm Pathra here, I still look at this Twig. I still look at this fact that Malygos costs 2, and I just want to find a way to draw cards in some capacity. She's going to Wild Growth for mana crystal, or sorry, for the extra draw here instead of the mana crystal that we're talking about, because I think that's more of a corner case scenario. Picks up Arcane Tyrant. She does have another option of being able to dump her hand as well, to try to see if she can free up space to cast another Ultimate Infestation. Let's say she played the Spreading Plague and got some cards out of her hand.
Sure. It's quite reasonable.
She's not even going to play Branching Pass here.
Interesting. I wonder what she's saving it for. I guess she just wants to double draw with it, and she doesn't have anything she can dump out of her hand right now.
Right.
Wanted to squeeze in that hero power over potentially discarding the Spreading Plague.
That makes sense.
Does it?
I mean, in terms of the logic.
Okay, yeah.
I can understand where she's coming from.
I guess. I would have just happily thrown away Plague and not thought twice about it in this matchup. But it could be a factor against some Dragon Caller Alana action later on, so sure.
Yeah, Dragon Caller Alana or like Sindragosa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reasonable.
Another swipe.
Second swipe.
So we're very close.
That's 9, 18, 18 plus 6 points of damage. We're looking at 24. I have to imagine you go for the Alexstrasza.
Right.
You didn't see Jaina there. Jaina's probably not in the hand. You set your opponent down to 20. If they Jaina, you don't have lethal set up though. Is there any way that you can set up a lethal? If they play Jaina, they just die? Because that would be the ideal.
Well, if they do play Jaina, you still have Alexstrasza on board.
Exactly.
But it doesn't stop Mojo Master Zihi combo, right? So you actually polymorph and Zihi.
Okay. Okay, so if
Gives you some time.
Zihi, a little bit of time there.
A little bit of time.
Noted Malygos at 2, Pathra can do 15 points of damage for only 6 mana.
Right.
She does have 15 available to her, but there's still that 5 health window that she's holding on to.
Bottoms up. But she's working at 53 health on the other side. That's a lot of HP to cut through.
Well, that health total doesn't matter, right? Like the game's gonna be over when Patra's cards get beat, not her hero.
Well, I'm saying specifically like if Slysssa can even put off enough pressure
To win before fatigue or something?
To even get to that point where Pathra has inevitability. Like if Pathra just draws her 30th card, that game's just over at that point, right? Because she's gonna have full combo damage. And Slyssa's just like, she has Stonehill defenders.
They could get you a Lich King or something. Maybe a bunch of Zilliaxes, and then you gain a bunch of armor after that.
Okay. Zilliax to gain armor. I mean, you're laughing, but this is kind of stuff that you have to think about.
Right. That's the plan.
Right. Or does she even just Meteor and try to push? Good Meteor positioning from Pathra. Stop the Arcane Tyrant from easily getting swept away. Choosing to, I guess, maximize the damage across, which makes sense, but still, not enough pressure.
Wait, there's 2 Moonfires in that hand. So
Yeah,
Malagos double Moonfire,
12.
21 damage.
Yep, so it's 6 plus 6 plus 9.
Yeah.
That is 21 damage. That is lethal.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah, no, we were like so busy worrying about the Stone of Defender, but looks like Pathra is able to get it here. And that is going to be a 3-0 sweep again.
The only Druid player in the entire tournament. The only player that thought, hey, maybe this Druid thing's not so bad.
Turns out it ain't too shabby.
It turns out it's all right. It's the deck tech.
Love it. Loving it. Malagos Druid, 3-0 sweep over Slysssa. And Pathra with the 2-time victory over Slysssa. Very convincing performance today, at least over one opponent.
Yeah, she's looking strong going in. Cora's got to be sweating at least a little bit.
Right. Because even the game that Malagos Druid lost, I thought Pathra played that pretty well.
I was very impressed. Overall, her Druid play has been immaculate throughout the course